Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host Mattson Heiner
Ayo, better Ed than dead.
and Alec Burgess.
Ayo, let's get it.
Yeah. It's like little copycats. I just can't handle this shit. We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons, all those buttons. It helps you keep up with what episodes we're doing, our live shows, our not live shows, all that fun stuff. Tell friends about us. Help us grow the podcast. We appreciate it. Do all those fun things. But let's talk House of the Dragon. Let's talk about things getting tense and going, boy. This episode was a little tense. I have some issues, but it was tense.
Can anyone think of a show where they've had this many time jumps, or at least where this many change of actors? I don't know if I've seen something where they've had to, just by nature of what's happening. It's been really interesting. I can't think of something I've seen before. Not
in one season for sure. I don't think I've ever even recasts like it's not been, but this is big. This show's all over the place.
The only one I can maybe think of is Barney, where every season you had a new cast or something like that.
It's fair. Aged out. I will say that if I read right, there will not be any more recasting moving forward. So I think we're locked in with our cast for this season.
For this season. This season's almost over. So.
Well, sure. I mean, we got 2 episodes left. But I'm starting to believe, based on where we're at in the timeline, what we're seeing, that this may be one of those what are these new type shows like American Horror Stories or whatever it is, or like where it's, I can't think of the name for them, but one of these shows where you're going to have different timelines. Like sometimes they say like, yes. Oh, she got you, Mattson. Stargate and Lost. That's fair. That is fair. Well played. I think these might be one of those shows, I could be wrong, but it would make sense to me, especially with like the rumored castings that are coming for season 2, like Elizabeth Olsen and wow, my brain just quit, but Superman.
Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the idea is that maybe those 2 will be cast. I don't know who of these characters you would cast. None of these characters last long enough to bring in these guys to, you know what I mean? Like, so I think you might see one of these shows where we start jumping, because what I'd be intrigued in is if those, like, let's have Henry Cavill play Aegon the Conqueror and Elizabeth Olsen play like the original Rhaena, or you know what I mean? Like any number of, or one of his 2 sisters, like that would be intriguing. So I think we may have that show. I just wanted to throw that out there because that's what it's feeling like. Because we have 2 episodes left, which based on what happens in the Dance with Dragons and the way that the time jumps are happening, it's enough time in theory to tell the major plot points of the Dance with Dragons. I mean, I think wouldn't be doing themselves any favors if they started it and didn't play it out. But I also don't know, based on where they're at in the timeline, with the king dying, spoiler alert, at the end of this episode, that means next episode it starts. And once it starts, I'm pretty sure it's only like a 6-month to a year-long affair once it gets started. I have to go back and don't hold me to that, but it's not long before things go real sideways for everybody.
Okay. When do Damon and Aemond have it out?
Because
I know it's coming the way they stare down at each other.
Which
was the coldest moment of this episode.
Oh, yeah. That's that comes near the end of this whole.
Okay.
It's on the back half of the.
But we do get to see it.
Oh, yeah.
We get to see them throw down.
That's probably the most epic storyline as far as that fight goes. Yeah, nice. It's called. I can't even remember. It's like the battle over the trident or something like that. Yeah, it's
Okay.
so yes, but Damon will tear him down. I will not spoil. I will not spoil.
I don't know.
But it
Damon's getting a
is,
little bit old, but
yeah.
Hey,
he was my favorite part of this episode.
he still can swing a blade and slice right through a man's skull.
I'm pretty sure
part
that
of
was
that-
Valyrian steel. And
Yeah, that's Dark Sister. That's his sword's name is Dark
That
Sister.
was quite the scene.
Yeah.
Poor guy, just telling the truth and dying for it.
that's what happens in Game of Thrones. Like, you don't
Oh,
tell the
for
truth in
sure.
Westeros. It's rule number 1. Do not tell the truth.
No. You just keep your pie hole shut right
Mhm.
there. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the name, because it's got a Battle Above the God's Eye. That's what it is. It's called. It's the
that is
Battle
cool.
Above the God's Eye. And
Cool
it's it's. I think you'll see Aemond and Luke have their rematch next week, if I had to guess, and that really
That's not going to
triggers
be
some-
much of a match.
it's well, I mean, they both have dragons.
Yeah, but
These
who's
are
been
all a little-
eating Aemond? I swear, this dude just shot up to 6'4", got his pirate patch on.
Yeah, he's a little badass, or a big
Yeah.
badass, one of the two.
Dude, if getting a dragon is all it took, holy smokes, bro.
I mean,
Talk about a confidence boost.
getting one of the oldest dragons on the planet can really put some love in there.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, can we talk about Lady Alicent's, because it's been about 6 years and it looks like she turned to a religion that I'm not familiar in the Game of Thrones lore, but kind of like changed the whole tone of Westeros and basically kind of taken over and just made it her own thing and kind of just got away with it because no one was really there to stop her.
Yeah, it's the seven is what and it's like the main religion. If it had a comparison to the real world, you'd probably say it's based loosely on like the Catholic religion, only with 7 different deities versus like the saints that they talk about. So, and that's something I said something about the 7 stars or something like that. Yeah, that star that you see above the throne now, that was in the original Game of Thrones above the throne in the throne room. That's the symbol that she also wore around her neck of the
7-pointed star.
Yeah, the 7-pointed star for the.
And what's our speculation? Did she turn to that because she wanted to find a way to like absolve her guilt and find purpose because of all the chaos and crap that's around her?
Yes.
Well, isn't that the religion of like the South? Like in the North, you have the old gods. The South worships the 7, and the Targaryens, since they're from originally old Valyria, they essentially are gods in their own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So wasn't that her just kind of going back to her roots?
Kind of, yes. And Shante says yes. Yes, it is the first men and the Rhoynar, they worship the old gods, so the trees and it's not the trees that they worship, but it's those that speak through the trees and the face of the trees, whatever. The 7 was brought over by when there was a land mass, and this is why we're getting deep cut Game of Thrones Westeros history here. There used to be a land mass that connected Essos and Westeros, and there was a people that came over and attacked the blood of the first men, which is the north, right? So they've been here forever. It was a big battle. The kingdoms were combined ish. There were 7, technically the 7 kingdoms at that point, and they brought with them the 7. So then there was the old gods and the new. That's why you hear them always saying by the old gods and the new. The old gods are the trees. With the first men, the 7 came with the conquerors, the first conquerors, and that was the 7 deities there. And then when the Targaryens came in, like you said, they didn't really have a religion per se, so it certainly wasn't their thing to do religions. When you look at the King's Landing, when they in the first 2 episodes, where you see it a lot, the first few, there's like all sorts of tapestries and things with like really like dragon erotica and like
Yeah.
Targaryen erotica, like some weird shit on there because they don't have that. Like they don't believe in, they just believe in their dragons and themselves, and the the blood of old Valyria type thing. So very good point. But yes, to answer your question, Mattson, that's my understanding is that her piety comes from guilt and dealing with that, and if she devotes herself to something as opposed to just making her kid the king, then and I've really liked the way that they've played her, because the one thing about the book, and this is for Rhaenyra as well, the one thing about the books that they don't do is it's all based on the men's perspective for the most part, like because that's who matters in Westeros, you know what I mean, from these historians. So you don't see like things like Alicent, who is in this really shitty position where she's got to deal with her dad's stuff, the king's stuff she's dealing with, not mentioned in the book, but in the show, at least, the friendship that she has with Rhaenyra, and all of those things are tugging on her. Now her kids are involved, and it's I don't envy all of the things, and she's always trying to do the right thing for everyone, which is exhausting. So you need something to fall back to. So I really like that they're playing her in that way, and that from that perspective. But yeah, it's interesting to see the transformation of the Red Keep as well into what we know it, and then like eventually even the Iron Throne is just the first part of the Iron Throne. They get rid of that big back part, and then all that stuff that goes down the stairs is gone. So it's interesting to see the how it transitions to.
Other thing I wanted to comment on is I appreciated the makeup / probably CGI that they did on Valerian.
Viserys?
Sorry, my apologies.
No, you're good.
Viserys, his face was like, I was impressed. I mean, when he took that off, I was like, oh man, like
they actually dug his eye
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the balloon and put it on ice, and they had to film it really quick in order to get that image.
That's
But with all that, it made me start thinking about it as well with Lady Alicent and the Queen. Like, did they just let him be basically in hospice and just left him there? It seems like he was just kind of an afterthought until Rhaenyra showed up and he kind of had his last surge of energy and did his thing to kind of stick up for her, and then he was out. And the Lady Alicent kind of was like, oh, like, he's around, I should probably like be there again. But she wasn't doing anything for 6 years. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I think you can definitely say that they, especially once her dad came back, because Otto's a dick, like there was certainly an advantage taken by the fact that he was out of commission, more or less, right?
Well, yeah, that's the way when they made the eye contact, they kind of had their plan, it seemed like, and they're like, oh snap, the king's here.
Yeah.
And talk about an entrance.
I was gonna say, what a dope moment. First of all, you got her on that, carving his eye out there. I like that. Yeah. What a dope moment when Viserys comes walking in all hunched over and won't let anybody help him walk up the stairs until he drops his crown. And then I love that it was Daemon that came through, and what a cool moment. I was impressed. But I'll say, I was kind of what you were hinting at there with that is Paddy Considine, dude, like this whole show, like Viserys has kind of annoyed me. And don't get me wrong, the actors played it well. Paddy Considine's played it very well. But this episode, like, I was like, damn, I want more Viserys all of a sudden. Like, That was a dope moment. Yeah, the golden mask was really cool. I really liked, and I liked that it mimicked too, like Aemon's scar. I thought that was an interesting.
It was dope. Shantez, if we all get pimples now, I feel like that's mandatory. Like we all just wear like a mask to cover stuff up. Like we should probably make that a trend.
That's right. I like it. Yeah, what a cool episode for good old.
Well, they talked about it then inside the episode after what they always show. Like he finally stepped up and defended something that he said was supposed to happen, and that's not something he never really did ever. But this is the one time, and he did it, and it's funny because he probably did it, and then the dinner thinking, oh, they're having this kumbaya moment, like things are better, and he dies thinking he's confessing the last bits to Rainier, and it's not. It's the queen, and he probably dies thinking like, I've done my part. I did it. I fought the good fight. I like went out on a high note, but he probably just made it worse. And obviously the kids at the dinner, the parents were kind of like, all right, we can do this, and the kids don't care. They don't know the history, and they're already bitching and moaning.
Yeah. I will say that I did have the only issue I have is the way that they played this whole Song of Ice and Fire reveal thing with the queen. And I say that because to me, that makes, it made it cheap. Like their shitty future fight that's going to happen in this battle. I liked it better when it was just the idea that Alicent wanted her kid on the throne, Rhaenyra wanted the throne, and her kids to have the throne. I don't like that we had this moment of, here, let's tease that we're all going to be friends and get back together, right? And then in a moment of hysteria, basically, or lack of coherence, thinking he's talking to his daughter, he reveals in a very broken way the Song of Ice and Fire revelation to Alicent, and she misinterprets it as he wants me to put Aegon on the throne. And I was like, that cheapens to me what you're trying to do with these women, right? Like, so you're trying to make it about these women and their perspective and how they're taking control of their lives and their family and the crown. And now all of a sudden it's an accident. Come on. I just, if you're going to make her power hungry and follow her dad or whatever, or as most mothers probably would, want the ability to say that my son is king. I know as a man I would, and maybe that's a man thing, not a woman thing. I may be speaking out of turn there, but at the same time, like, if you're going to lean into that. Don't make it an accident. At this point, I would have been much happier if the king goes away, we have a fist fight break out because these kids are assholes, and then they leave on shitty terms. And we just know all we're waiting for is King Viserys to die. Oh, look at this line. Yep, she brought up a great line. So my favorite line was when he said, "Excuse my confusion, but didn't I already make this succession?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, me too." I was like, I loved that moment where he's like, "Hold on, why are we doing this again? Like, this is clear." And then I love in his broken state too, like where he stands up and drags his dagger out and he's like, "I'm going to take your tongue." I'm like, "Get him." It's like, you won't even get down the first stair, but get him. I liked it.
Yeah, going back to your point, JJ, about making or cheapening the Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, I would have done, if I was in charge, made Alicent nervous about her kids. Because the first thing that Rhaenyra is going to do when she takes the throne is kill the people who are going to have the best claim to it.
Mm-hmm.
So a self-preservation thing is whoever gets the throne, is going to go after the people who have the next best claim. And that's where you get your civil war.
Yeah.
Versus this misunderstanding, which to me is just Alicent misunderstanding on purpose.
You hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I would have liked it more.
It's like every prophecy that's been ever in the same thing in Harry Potter. Like the one side hears one side hears the other, or Star Wars, for instance. You just prophecies. I always get screwed up, and it's like the game of telephone. The more you tell someone else, then it just gets convoluted. Then everyone's like, "No, I know this to be right. I know this to be true," and then they're gonna fight for it. Which I personally, if it strengthened Lady Alicent's resolve that her kids need to be the successor, and it starts this civil war, like, I'm all for it. Let's see death. Let's see some violence. I think because we have one episode left, right?
2.
For this, 2.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very curious what kind of cliffhanger we're gonna get left on at the end of this season, because in true Game of Thrones fashion, I think someone's probably gonna die or something's gonna happen that is slightly unexpected. Although I know JJ already knows what kind of has to happen, but I hope it's still interesting.
Yeah, I'm keeping my
the worst.
I'm keeping. Oh yeah, well, her kids. Here's the thing: is like I'm with you in that they've set this up to. Because one interesting thing that I did notice in this episode is you have Daemon, who is kind of a dick. I love Daemon.
Kind of a dick. He's a dick.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
But he's a cool dick. He's my dick.
Yeah, he's kind of. I love Freudian slips.
I am taking that out of context.
That was amazing. No, I love Damon, and part of that's because I love Matt Smith, and I think he's playing him outrageously good. But I like Damon even in the book. That character is interesting. And then you've got Rhaenyra, who in the show they've made pretty. She's nice, right? She's interesting. In the books, not as much. Like she's kind of a dick too. But then her kids are sweet. Like she's got these nice kids and grandkids and all that stuff. And then you got Alicent, who, for all intents and purposes, wants to be a good person, and her kids are just complete douchebags. Like it's just like, what the hell? So I thought it was an interesting take on that.
Who's Allison's daughter? Is that Yelena?
Helena.
Helena?
Yeah.
Dude, she was my favorite part of that dinner scene.
Yeah,
Where
dude.
she's like, being married's not so bad. Mostly your husband just ignores you. Unless he's drunk.
And then Aegon's just sitting there going, did I just get burned by my own sister wife? Like, oh, God. Yeah. That's
I
crazy.
was cracking up. She's so funny. She's a little weirdo, but she's hilarious.
Yeah. It's crazy. She's a little she's crazy, and like in the book, there's issues there. There's issues there. We got another great one here. So claims should not even be worn, just like oh, sorry, I misread that. The king wanted him to be made king up until the kids were older, but got killed even when it was written. So yeah, I mean there's so much drama in this joint. So I love it.
Teenage angst.
Yeah, so next episode should be interesting because I think I'll give you a harmless lead into what I'll probably see, and that is the two sides, the greens and the blacks, will send emissaries to the different lords of the seven kingdoms to win them to their side to help strengthen their claim. And during those particular trips, things happen. So we have a lot of crazy things that could go that will really cause this to just go all sideways, as if it's not kind of rolling down the road sideways as it is. So it's ugly.
It looks like it is. In the preview for next episode, JJ, did we see cheese and
yeah, blood and cheese?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. But what was interesting is that they reintroduced what's her face, the girl that we saw at the end, that she has the woman that's in the palace, that she came and said it must have been an interesting day at the palace. It's so Damon's old concubine, whatever. She becomes Damon's master of whispers in the book. So
is that gossip secrets?
It's if you've still been watching season 1, Varys, the bald guy, he's the master of whispers. Master of whispers is what they call. So it's like a secret. Whispers. He's like they're like the CIA of Westeros. So or the NSA, depending on which one you want to roll with. But yeah, so she becomes his like secret bearer. So like she keeps all the secrets, all that fun stuff. So she helps. If I had to guess, she's the one that will actually be the one in the show that hires Blood and Cheese if they go that route. But something has to happen during all the emissary sending that triggers it to send blood and cheese and blood.
Sweet.
Son for a son. Yeah, shit's gonna get wild, as if it hasn't been already. But the Dance of Dragons is on now that Viserys has died. The Dance of Dragon is on, and in that moment, I agree. Shanta, OMG, shit's gonna get weird. Yeah, I think I really enjoyed this episode. The tension was palpable throughout. Like,
I hated it.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. The whole damn show.
I love the intrigue and the politicalness, but I hate watching it.
Yeah,
because it drives me nuts.
Yeah,
I was anxious the entire episode.
Well, and Rainey's making her play, like that was very interesting, like because she was going to go a completely different way until Viserys came in, laid down the law, and then she's like, "Oh shit, I better back the princess because that's my
And she
best
has
play."
ammo to publicly now announce that her daughters are going to be betrothed to Rhaenyra's sons.
Yeah,
And that was some chess level checkers right there.
oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, lots of fun conversations. Fun conversations. Yeah, I agree completely with Chantel. So she corrected it's Viserys. Viserys needs to get an Emmy because he played his character. Oh yeah, that dude. He watching, and I think you make a good point bringing that up because this episode was like the coup de grace, right? Like I am the shit after this episode. But I think the setup is what's interesting. When you go back after this episode and I think about the previous 7 episodes, I just was like, oh, Viserys, whatever, move on to one of the interesting characters. And now I'm like, he set that up perfectly because he was weak. And then he wasn't. And you're like, what would we be doing if he was this character the whole time? And then you're like, but I understand why everybody's taking advantage of him because he never took a stand. And then when he does, it's so watching that whole, and even the scene when he stands up at dinner and he takes the mask off and he's telling them, you guys got to freaking knock this shit off. I love all of you. And even if you don't do it for the kingdom, do it for this old man. Like, I thought that was a great line. I was like, I don't care about the kingdom. I care about my family. So I'm with you. I think Paddy Considine was like outrageous in this episode. And he tied to me an arc that I never even thought I cared about until the end of this episode. So it was well played. Well played. I'm excited, fellas. I like this episode. I thought the intrigue was fun. I'm excited for what's coming in the next 2. I'm on board. I'm 100% sold, even after all of my grumpy from Game of Thrones. But I think that they've done this smart, how they've played this book. And a lot of people are bitching about it because all the time jumps and stuff. But and I get it, if you haven't read the book, I could see where it might be a little jarring. But knowing how the book's written, I think they've done a great job because it's very similar to how the stories are told in the book. So I'm intrigued to see how they do it.
Excellent. Yeah.
You're muted, Mattson.
Looking forward to it too.
Just saying, I'm looking forward to it. I'm intrigued. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of death, drama, and broken hearts.
Agreed. There's no happy endings at the end of this story, I don't believe.
There's no happy endings in anything George R.R. Martin writes.
That's true. Cool. Well, there it is. All right, we'll trade off. Mattson, tell everybody where they can find us,
back.
buddy.
Hey, if you're listening to us now, we appreciate it. Sanchez, appreciate it. Charles, thanks for chiming in as well earlier. You can find us on our next live show this coming Thursday for Andor, as we kind of debrief on Star Wars at 5 p.m. Pacific. And when you're not listening to us live on YouTube or Facebook, you can find us on our podcast at What's Our Verdict Reviews, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can check us out on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to kind of stay up to date in some of our social media escapades. Alec's been focusing quite heavily on Rings of Power of late, which has been fun. Thank you all for chiming in there as well. Our website is still currently under construction, but we're excited to bring you some Halloween flair this month. And as Alec mentioned towards the beginning here, check out our Patreon as well if you want to see us do trailer reviews, if you want to recommend things that we watch, even mandate something that we watch. You have the jurisdiction to do so. So check us out at What's Our Verdict Podcast on Patreon as well. But likewise, thank you all for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for all the comments. Again, I feel like we'll have to get her to clarify. Please send us an email or put a comment in. Is it Shantae? Is it Shantez? Because I butcher names constantly, so I apologize for that. But thank you for tuning in. Love your comments as always. Yeah, so there it is. We appreciate you tuning in. She says, bye, you guys. See you next week.
Bye, Shantez.
Love it. So, awesome. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.